It is no secret that Florida has been the top relocation and retirement destination for the past several years. And because it was accelerated by the COVID pandemic, a lot of people decided to move down here, take advantage of the low interest rate and the low cost of living, but that isn't the case anymore. We're now seeing a lot of Floridians move out of the state of Florida for greener pastures, whether it's because of the cost of living, it's the cost of insurance, or for political reasons. Tons of Floridians are leaving the state more than ever before. So what we're going to do in today's video is take a look at the data points surrounding cost of living, net migration, and insurance here in the state of Florida. We're also going to talk about why people are leaving the state of Florida and where they're going to. And we're also going to talk about people that want to stay in Florida and what their plan is and what their strategy is to remain in the state of Florida. Now, it's no secret that the insurance premiums in the state of Florida are way more expensive than the rest of the United States. They say for the average insurance premium here in Florida is going to be about $4,400 a year, while the rest of the United States is right around $2,200. So we're almost double the cost of the rest of the United States here, and that's no secret that it's because of hurricanes and natural disasters that we have here in the state of Florida. But since 2020, we've seen insurance premiums double in some areas, and for the entire state, we've seen a lot of them go up 20 to 30%. And that is a huge increase, especially when agents just like myself telling you like, hey, lock in your payment, it's never going to change. Well, the things that can change are going to be your taxes and insurance, and those are some of the things that are driving the people out of the state of Florida. And they're expecting another increase in premiums this year in 2025 of around 8% across the entire state of Florida, which that may not sound like a whole bunch, but if your insurance premium already doubled, you're going to be pretty pissed when you see it's going to come up a little bit more. Not only has the cost of insurance gone up, but we've also seen the cost of housing spike dramatically, especially since the COVID pandemic. Prices were already rising here in the state of Florida prior to the pandemic, but that pandemic accelerated it. We've seen prices double in many places over the last 5 years, which has priced out many Floridians because our wages haven't kept up with the cost of real estate here and how quickly that's happened. Now, obviously, I live and work here in the city of St. Augustine, and we've seen our median sale price go from 2020 of $330,000 all the way to $500,000 now in 2025, which is a huge increase for the locals here that live here. So not only are they stressed about everything going on in the world, but they're stressed financially because their hometown is no longer affordable to them. But when you compare it to the rest of the state of Florida, you'll still find that the north part of Florida, Jacksonville, St. Augustine, Palm Coast, is going to be much more affordable when we're talking about insurance, cost of living, and prices of homes than South Florida. Now, I mentioned that net migration is starting to slow down drastically. It went from 250,000 people in 2022 to 64,000 people in 2024, which is obviously a huge decrease of people moving to the state of Florida. And we've also seen the exodus of people moving out of the state of Florida increased pretty drastically over the past couple years. Overall, we still have a net positive of people moving to the state of Florida. They're actually expecting 1.4 million people to be added to the state of Florida by the end of 2030. But our daily net migration of residents is going to go from 974 people a day in 2024 to 798 people a day by 2030. Even though Florida's population is expected to grow by 2030, our net migration is expected to decline over these next couple years. As of right now, in 2024, we have a net migration of 972 residents per day in the state of Florida, and is expected to go down to 789 residents per day in 2030. And what that means is that we do have a good bit of people moving in here. We're the third largest state by population size in the entire country. We just passed New York, I think 2 years ago in terms of population size. But the amount of people coming in is starting to slow down. The amount of people that are leaving is starting to speed up. So why are the residents of Florida choosing to leave the state, a place they've called home for many years? What's causing them to leave? And I don't think it's a secret that insurance and hurricanes play a major factor in this discussion, but we also need to talk about the cost of real estate, and we also need to talk about the political climate that we have here in the state of Florida. So living in Florida, hurricanes are a part of life, especially in South Florida, or if you're on the west coast of Florida. It's just something that you have to deal with on a consistent basis every single year. Typically, the Florida hurricane season is between July and November every single year, with most of the major storms coming in September and October. So that's just a way of life here in Florida. Very similar, especially if you live in the Northeast or in the north across the entire country. Very similar to like snow days or blizzards is how most hurricanes are treated here. outside of the major hurricanes. When we get hit with a Category 4, Category 5, or even a Category 3 that makes direct landfall, it can be catastrophic for our area. And we've seen that happen year over year these past couple of years, which has been terrible for the Florida insurance market, but also for many of the homeowners that live in the state of Florida. Market Watch says that Florida is one of the most high-risk states in the entire country. And they say that there's coastal real estate valued about $10.8 trillion that could be affected by future hurricanes, which is obviously a big deal for you as a homeowner. Those effects of a hurricane can be catastrophic, but also for the insurance companies and the insurance issues that we've had here in the state. Doesn't actually make you feel like it's going to get any better. And in terms of better, we mean cheaper. That leads us to our next point, which is the cost of insurance has risen drastically. For the entire state of Florida, they're saying that the annual premium is going to be around $4,400 a year. But you have parts of Florida, especially in the coastal areas, where those insurance premiums could be around $10,000 a year, not including your flood insurance cost, right? So that could be even more, thousands of dollars more, which is forcing a lot of Floridians to move out, especially the ones that are on a fixed income. Tied in with that insurance issue is going to be HOAs and condo associations, because at the end of the day, the condo association needs to have a master insurance policy for the entire property. Typically, if you're a condo owner, you insure from the drywall in of your unit. The HOA takes care of the exterior of the property. And since we had the Surfside collapse back in 2021, they put new legislation in 2022 that said like, hey, if you're within a certain distance to the beach, if you're 3 stories high, you're going to need to have a structural inspection every certain amount of years depending on the age of your building, and you're also going to need to fully fund your reserves for any type of work that needs to be done at the condo, which has made many of these associations have to increase their fees pretty drastically, not only because of the rise of insurance, but also because they need to put the money in the reserves, which are not there. To fully fund a condo for the roof that doesn't need to be replaced for 15 years today doesn't necessarily make sense. So we've had a big issue in the insurance world and also the condo world and how this is all working out. There is legislation. They're trying to push forward stuff to make changes so that this can be more amenable to many condo owners here in the state. But as of right now, the problem isn't fixed. Then on top of that, right, we just talked about hurricanes, insurance. Those are big deals. But what about the cost of housing here in the area? Now, if you're talking about South Florida, they've seen prices double in many areas. You're talking about St. Augustine, we've seen prices go up by a third, 30 to 40%. It's a huge increase for the locals here, especially when wages don't rise as quickly as the cost of housing. And in reality, how could wages rise quickly when we've seen prices double in many areas? No one's going to give you that big of a raise. So that put a pressure on many local Floridians to say like, hey, I can't afford to live here anymore. Many of them are on a fixed income and retired, and they're like, hey, I got to go to greener pastures. So where are all these people moving to? Let's talk about it. Now, many of the people that are leaving the state of Florida are still looking for the South. They're looking for no state income tax. They're looking for a lower cost of living, something that you would once associate with the state of Florida that really isn't there anymore. Are we still cheaper than many of the other states in the country? 100%. But when you throw in the factors of hurricanes and insurance and all that kind of stuff, that just adds a complication to your lifestyle that you may not want. So many people are moving to the Carolinas, South Carolina, North Carolina. Those are going to be some affordable areas where you're not going to get hit with the severity of hurricanes that we get hit with down here, but also the cost of living and the price of real estate in South Carolina. I have buddies that work out there, and oh my gosh, like you get a mansion for like $300,000, $400,000. It's a nice brick home, 2 stories, 2,500 square feet. Beautiful, beautiful homes in these areas. So why would you stay in the state of Florida when you have that affordability right there with the lower risk of insurance and catastrophic things happening to your home and your livelihood? Makes a lot of sense to move to those areas. So I'm going to give you the 10 places that Floridians are moving. The first one's going to be North Carolina. Second's going to be Texas. Third's going to be New York, which is honestly really surprising, but I know upstate New York has a ton of affordability. You have Georgia, California as well. I'm not sure why people are, maybe it's people that moved here to California, moving back there, deal with the prices there. Then you have Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Illinois, and South Carolina. So we're seeing that the majority of those people aren't moving very, very far. They're moving out of the state of Florida, but really just to around the bordering states here in the South. They actually have a term for how many people that are moving to North Carolina from Florida, and they call them halfbacks, right? So this means that maybe they retired from the Northeast, they were retiring down to Florida, and now they're moving halfway back to go to North Carolina because you're going to get lower humidity, a lower cost of living, and still be a little bit closer to your friends, family, relatives in the Northeast. Overall, net migration here in the state of Florida is positive. It's typically a 1.1 to 1 ratio. So for every one person moving out, we got 1.1 people moving in. So we're still in the positive range. No alarm bells need to be sounded, but these are some of the major things that you need to think about before you move to the state of Florida. The other thing with that is that many of the Floridians that are moving within the state of Florida. So they're choosing places like Orlando, Jacksonville, St. Augustine. They're moving north from South Florida because that's where we're seeing a majority of these problems. When we're talking about hurricanes, we're talking about insurance, South Florida is really going to get hit harder by all of those by any metric. Now, many of the South Floridians are moving to North Florida, and really north of Orlando is kind of central Florida, but Jacksonville, Orlando, St. Augustine, we're seeing an influx of people coming from South Florida because they have a similar lifestyle, they have similar weather, they also have a lower cost of living here, the lower cost of real estate, and also our insurance here is going to be more on par with what you're going to see throughout the rest of the country because our risk for hurricanes here isn't as high as South Florida. And guys, if you've gotten some value out of this video learning about the state of Florida, why people are moving out of here, make sure you subscribe to the channel here below. I come out with new videos every single week going over the local stuff here in St. Augustine. So if you're interested in St. Augustine, definitely subscribe, hit the notification bell. But if you're interested in the state of Florida, I cover all the migration trends, I cover the market, I cover as much as I can about the state of Florida so that you're informed. So I help a ton of people relocating to the area. I live here in St. Augustine. I cover St. Johns County. I go up to Jacksonville and I go down to Palm Coast. Those are going to be my main markets. I also cover Putnam as well, which is more of a rural area and more of like the northeast central area of Florida. But I've helped a ton of people move to our area, and one of the major populations of people moving to our area are people from South Florida. Now, many of you probably think like the majority of people that are moving here are coming from California, they're coming from New York, coming to New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and that's true, right? But the number one person that's moving to St. Augustine and the Jacksonville area are going to be people from Miami, right? And that's I can show you right here. We'll take a look at Redfin's graph. It's showing that the majority of people that are moving here are from Miami, New York, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Georgia, Los Angeles, California, Boston, Massachusetts, Orlando, Florida, Chicago, Seattle, and New Orleans. So we're seeing a net migration of people moving from areas in Florida that have a higher risk of hurricane, a higher insurance premium to North Florida because of its low cost of living. Its insurance premiums are going to be more on par with the rest of the country. And also, not to mention, here in St. Johns County, we have the #1 or #2 school district, depending on the year, right, in the entire state of Florida. So that's something that we can really hang our hat on. So a lot of the families that are down in Miami, maybe can't afford to buy a place down there or other places in South Florida, are deciding to move to northeastern Florida because of those exact reasons. Another thing to mention, and this is going to divide people one way or another, is the politics of the state of Florida. Now, one thing that I think a lot of people can agree on, or maybe not, I don't know, maybe I'm digging myself in a hole here, is going to be the state's rights on women's bodies, right? And that affects 50% of our population here, so it should be something that we should all look at and be concerned with. But the state of Florida just recently changed their views on abortion and what they should be. They put it into vote last year of like, hey, can we change this and make it a little bit more amenable to women and their bodies? And it didn't actually pass through because in Florida, to change any type of law, you actually need to have 60% or more of the vote. So here in the state of Florida, it now says that we have 4 weeks if you wanted to get an abortion, that you have to do it within a 4-week time period, which if you're a woman watching this, you know that many times you won't even know because it's hard to know if you're going to miss your period because sometimes they're irregular, right? So it's polarized a lot of people here in Florida, especially a lot of the women here in Florida, to be like, you know what, I can't deal with this anymore because they're not respecting my rights as a woman in my body. Now, personally for myself and my family, me and my wife have had extensive conversations about this. It's my wife's body, it's her choice. At the end of the day, if we have a baby that was a mistake or something like that, we just had it, we have a 4-month-old daughter right now, just had her, it's awesome. We're going to have a baby, right? And that's just our views on it. But if someone else doesn't want to do that and they don't think it's right for their life right now, that's obviously their decision, their choice. That doesn't affect me. Is it terrible? Do I not like it? Yeah, there is that, right? But it's not my life, it's not my family. I don't have any say on what anyone can do in their lives. And I don't think the government, especially in this situation, should have a bigger say than you as a person. So I'm not running for the governor of Florida. I'm not trying to change any laws. I'm just being informative here for you guys so you know what's going on here and kind of the divide of what's happened here in the state of Florida because of politics. So guys, all in all, I hope a ton of people relocate to the state of Florida, and especially here in the city of St. Augustine and St. Johns County. In my opinion, it's probably one of the best places to live in the entire state of Florida. We're talking about weather, we're talking about insurance, talking about cost of living. Northeastern Florida, in my opinion, is going to beat out the rest of the entire state. So if you are looking to move to my area or anywhere in the state of Florida, make sure you reach out to me directly, because if you are looking to move to Miami or Tampa or Orlando, I can put you in connection with a great real estate agent there that'll help you reach you and your family's goals. Until next time, guys.